The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, because I'm going to ask you this: is Roman Reigns in one of the at least the top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time?
Roman, yeah. I knew Roman growing up in Pensacola. That's Sika's kid from the Samoans.
Speaking of Sika, you kind of rolled into this because last week we had a mixture of guests on, from Marty Jannetty. We just had a mishmash of a show.
Yeah.
We ended up having this PI by the name of James Terry, and he came up with this story. I just flashed his picture, but basically he said that he had interviewed you and that you at one point dated Nancy Argentino.
I did.
Is that okay? Can you share that?
She used to live with me in Los Angeles. And you know, I'm going to tell you a hell of a story. This is really cool.
Okay.
So me and Snuka went into Tulsa for George Scott because Scott was going to buy Tulsa from Leroy McGurk, right? And I knew Leroy McGurk, great guy. That's Mike McGurk's father. Mike was the announcer for the WWF, remember?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we went in there, had Paul Jones was a baby face. Then he brought in Sid Hansen and Rip Hawk, Blackjack Mulligan, who was later my world champion with IWF. But anyway, so me and Snuka, and I was supposed to go to New York to follow Snuka. Vince was starting to put all the puzzle together with his guys, right? And he was getting George Scott to work for him and all this other stuff, which was good. I had the whole skinny. And then that stupid Johnny Rods fixed Nancy up with Jimmy Snuka, who later killed her. When I was producing,
wait a minute. So real quick,
when I was producing the XWF at Universal, Jimmy came and sat with me in the truck, and I leaned over and asked him. I said, "Why'd you kill the damn girl?" He goes, "I swear it was accident, Ed." I said, "Shit, okay." And Jimmy and me were close. We lived together in Tulsa. We lived together in Dallas.
Well,
I mean, you notice I never said anything, ever.
Well, let me ask you this question though. You're dating Nancy in California.
Uh-huh.
How does Jimmy end up with her through Johnny in New York?
Well, I made the cardinal mistake of listening to Ron Fuller. He flew to L.A. and begged me to come to Knoxville. That's when Bob Roop, Ronnie Garvin, and Ronnie's a good friend of mine, Roop, Garvin, Orton Jr., Malenko were trying to steal Knoxville. Remember when they would go to Plan B? You ever watch that Plan B with them talking about exposing the business?
Yep.
Yeah, well, me and David Schultz went in there to help him save his territory. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made, going in that damn Knoxville, because I gave up my spot in L.A. And Ron was great to work with. I lived with Ron in Pensacola. And but it's just that but when that's how I Nancy hated Knoxville. Being a New York girl, I don't blame her. I said I hate it too. I made a mistake. I need to go back to L.A., because we lived on the beach, man, in Los Angeles. And me and Nancy were real close. Nancy was really sweet. She was a real good girl. She didn't deserve getting killed like that.
Well, let me ask you this then. The PI kept going on with the story, and then again, all his words that he said he spoke with you. So he said that you told him that Afa and Sika were also involved in the death of Nancy.
No.
Okay.
He's full of shit.
Okay, good.
Alpha. Here's the deal with Alpha Sika. They knew what happened, right? Here now, you're going to hear it from Eddie Mansfield. Everybody talks about Eddie Mansfield. Now you're hearing from Eddie Mansfield. You're not hearing from some fucking bullshit guy that it plays arena football. All right, this is Eddie Mansfield. Alpha and Sika knew about it. And, they were close, Jimmy. And all the Samoan guys were close. But Alpha and Sika, they didn't, they knew about it and they kept their mouth shut. And Vince took care of them for doing that. Alpha told me that.
Let me ask you this, being that you had a relationship with Nancy, and however Nancy passed away, right? Whether it was an accident or whatever the case is. I've heard so many different stories from so many different guys that have been on our show. How do you look them in the face knowing that you had a relationship with them, and in your mind you may have thought something else went on?
What do you mean? I look at who?
So Jimmy, you're talking to Jimmy. Yeah, you're looking at Jimmy. You've been in a relationship with this lady.
Yeah, but I didn't give a shit about that. I mean, that was so many years ago.
Okay. Right.
I mean, hey, I've been married and all this other stuff. Hell, Nancy Argentino was an arena rat, pretty much. Mm. But she was a good girl. She didn't deserve to die.
Right.
And I mean, when she was with me, I treated her very well.
Why do you think that Vince continued to? I mean, if Vince is aware of this and stuff, why would he continue to keep Jimmy Snuka? I mean, what? Why?
Well, sometimes, money talks and bullshit walks.
And Jimmy was obviously worth that much for Vince to just go shush.
He paid the guy. Well, he paid them. They said these people know that told me that he paid the guys off in Pennsylvania, in Allentown. He went in there with a Halliburton full of cash, and he'd leave with it. How about that?
The guys being, if I can, you don't
have to say that.
Okay, all right, it's the guys. That's fine.
Jimmy, you have to realize at that point, Snuka was the hottest thing in the WWE, so it does make sense. No, and then once he started to wane, Vince kind of shuffled him off, and that was it, right? But at the time, that was Vince's guy. I mean, he just took over the organization.